After studying this module, you shall be able to define the nature and characteristics of decision-making process in organizations, describe the phases in the decision-making process in organizations, identify some models of behavioral decision-making, know the problems in team decision-making, apply major organizational decision-making techniques that are used today. Herbert Simon, the organization and behaviorist, won a Nobel Prize for his work on decision-making, described it as synonymous with managing. In organization, every day people make many decisions related to growth, policy and structure of an organization. Understanding how these decisions are made in different cultural perspectives and how they can be improved is an important goal in the field of organizational behavior. In today's flat world, decision-making for the most organization has become less hierarchical and more decentralized. Enhanced workplace diversity and the globalization of business activity have made it a strategic necessity to understand the ways in which culture impacts behavior in organizational settings. It is very important to acknowledge the cross-cultural differences in decision-making as they influence efficiency in cross-cultural communications, negotiations and conflict resolution. Characteristics of decision-making. Decision-making is the process of choosing one alternative from several. Decision is made regarding all the sources available to a company as it attempts to reach its goals. Such decisions determine what organizational goals will be and how they will be accomplished. All the members of organization will get affected by the decision making. Similarly, the growth, productivity and development of an organization will depend on the decision taken by the management. The main characteristics of decision making are: 1. A decision can be made by an individual or a group. 2. Even a brief decision making process can be both logical and complex. 3. Information is an indispensable element of the decision-making process. A decision helps in integrating the actions of individuals and utilizes their efforts for organizational effectiveness. It is a conscious process of making choices among one or more alternatives with the intention of moving towards some desired state of affairs. General model of decision-making. How do people make decisions? It is a very important question to be thinking about, because there are people whose decisions make the whole organization to run effectively. All people are not so efficient in making decisions. Sometimes decisions are so programmed. A programmed decision follows standard operating procedures. Here, the optimal solution has already been identified and documented. Therefore, there is no need to explore alternative solutions. On the other hand, new, complex or ill-defined problems require non-programmer decisions. In such situations, decision makers must reach for alternatives and possibly develop a unique solution. The decision maker must look for other alternatives and develop a unique solution. After the problems appear, programmed decision routines are formed. As we all try to prepare programmed decision. Identifying a problem or opportunity. The step in the process of decision making is to recognize the problem. One can proceed in any direction only after the identification of the problem, which is a very challenging task. Most of the time, the cues leading to problem are presented around people, but they are usually ignoring them because of their subtle nature. They come in the front side only when they become too problematic. Define objectives. After the identification of the problem, next step is to define the objectives to be met in solving the problem. The clarity of the objectives which need to be addressed is very important to move in the direction of probable solution. It is important to conceive of a problem in such a way that possible solution can be explored. Pre-decision. Pre-decision is a decision about how to reach at a decision. Decisions can be taken at individual level or group level, but keeping in view the nature of the problem, a decision is required for the way of reaching at the probable solutions. Decisions can be taken at individual level or group level, but keeping in view the nature of the problem, a decision is required for the way of reaching at the probable solutions of the problem. That is, whether the particular problem should be handled at individual level or group level. Alternative generation. Alternative generation is the stage in which possible solutions to the problem are identified and discussed. In their attempt to find solutions, they can use previously used ready-made solution to the problem or can generate new alternatives. Thus, decision makers should generate as many alternatives of the problem as possible. New alternatives of the problem solution involve more risk than when people use ready-made alternatives. Evaluating alternative solutions. All the possibilities calculated by decision makers may not be equally feasible. That's why it is very important to evaluate alternative solutions. That is, which solution is the best. The various alternatives needs to be identified. Some may be more effective than the others and some may be more difficult to implement than others. For example, increase in sales would help solve the problem, but it is much easier said than done. It is a solution to the problem, but not an immediate practical one. The evaluation process includes a complete description of the anticipated outcomes of each alternative, evaluation of the anticipated costs of each alternative, and estimation of the uncertainties and risk associated with the alternative. Thus, choosing a best alternative consists of selecting the alternatives with the highest possible payoff and lowest cost as well as risks. Make a choice. After several alternatives are evaluated, one that is considered acceptable is chosen. Example, decide to raise prices slightly and sell excess inventory. Implementation of the chosen alternative. The seventh step is to implement the chosen alternative. That is, the chosen alternative is carried out. This is the stage when the decision is going to be implemented. It requires a high degree of commitment and motivation to bring decision into action. Successful implementation of decisions requires good managerial skills as well as resources. Decision makers sometimes start doubting about their choices of alternative, which is called post-decision dissonance or cognitive dissonance. Thus, to eliminate this dissonance, the decision maker collects some more information to support their decision. Follow-up. Follow-up is the eighth and final step. It requires continuous monitoring of the decisions put into action for effective functioning of the organization. To know that does the problem still exist or are there any new problems being caused by implementing the solution? In other words, it is important to seek feedback about the effectiveness of any attempted solution. Here, it is important to understand that in the analytical model which we have described above and is a very general model of the decision-making process, it may not be followed exactly in the same way in all situations, but it provides a general picture of complex set of operations. Techniques for enhancing group decisions. Delphi technique. Delphi technique is developed by Rand Corp, where the systematically pooling the judgments of experts for use in the developing forecasts, making decisions and to identify opposing views. As in the electronic brainstorming, they also do not have face-to-face interaction with the particular experts. Participants may be located at different places of world and are not familiar to each other's identity. They are not aware of the person submitting ideas. The control convener receives all the possible solutions and comments regarding an issue. Their results are compiled and sent to the panel for second round of comments. This process is repeated until the consensus or dissensions emerge. Success of Delphi decision process depends on adequate time, participants' expertise, communication skills and motivation of members to merge in the task. The major merit of the process includes elimination of interpersonal problems among panelists, efficient use of experts' time, adequate time for reflection and analysis by respondents, adequate time for reflection and analysis by respondents, diversity and quantity of ideas generated, accuracy of predictions and forecasts made. This technique is used when members are dispersed and have difficulty communicating with one another because of extreme differences of opinion. The disadvantage of this technique is that do not provide direct interaction among group members. At the same time, as electronic brainstorming increase the availability of computers and the electronic transmission of responses affect the Delphi process. It has also affected the interactive process of collecting input and feeding back group data. Dialectic decision method. The dialectic decision method, DDM, traces its roots to Plato and Aristotle. Offers a way of overcoming the problems of face-to-face decision-making process. Sometimes, group members quickly converge to alternatives without complete evaluation of options, maybe because of participants' unwillingness to raise and confront tough issues or because of simple disliking of meetings. The dialectic process emphasizes on a clear statement of the problem to be solved, associated with two or more completing proposals generated by members. A key step follows in which participants identify the explicit or implicit assumption that underlies each proposal. The group then divided into advocacy subgroups which examine and argue the relative merits of their positions. Then, the entire group makes a decision based on the competition presentation. The decision is emerged after compromising after certain ideas to generate a new proposal. DDM provides better understanding of a proposal, their underlying premises and their pros and cons by the participating members. Members are also feeling confident about the decisions they made. Drawbacks includes the propensity to forge a compromise in order to avoid choosing sides and tendency to focus more on who were better debaters than what the best decision would be. However, for future decisions, making groups the dialectic method will be a better option. The nominal group technique. Nominal group techniques are another way of making decision-making process more effective. In this technique, another way of making the decision-making process more effective. In this technique, they try to combine individual efficiencies with team dynamics. Brainstorming is used for alternative generation where NGT measures identification of the problem and of appropriate criteria for evaluating alternativeness. This method is called nominal because participants from a group in name only during the two stages of decision making. First of all, technique involves individual, then the group and then again individual. NGT provides more effective ideas than traditional interacting groups. The problem is described to the group and each individual writes a list of ideas independently and silently. After noting down their ideas, during the group stage participants take turns reporting their ideas one at a time to a group. As with brainstorming, there is no criticism or debate, although members are encouraged to ask for clarifications of the ideas presented. Their ideas are recorded on a flip chart and members are encouraged to add on the list by building on the ideas of others. In the final stage, participants silently and independently rank order or vote on each proposed solution. Rank ordering is preferred because this forces each person to carefully review all the alternatives presented. In the nominal group technique, people reach to consensus by rating or ranking the individual ideas and try their best to avoid dysfunctional conflicts. The generation discussion vote cycle can continue until an appropriate decision is reached. This technique has a couple of advantages. It can be used in problem identification, generation of alternatives, and during evaluation phase of decision-making process. It helps to overcome the influences of power and status in the decisions. Group problem solving. In the traditional views, group problems involves face-to-face discussion to find out solutions and alternatives. But as we have discussed earlier, that group have to confront with several group problems, arrive at a solution such as evolution, apprehension, groupthink, etc. Minimize these problems, 5 alternative techniques are employed by managers: brainstorming, Delphi technique, and nominal group technique, and constructive controversy. Brainstorming. Alex Osborne in 1950s found out brainstorming as a new and better approach towards generating new and creative ideas for decision making to solve problems. Electronic brainstorming. Chris Boeing designs electronic brainstorming. They have developed a special computer software to overcome the limitation of traditional brainstorming by minimizing apprehension evaluation. Group members can enter ideas at any time on their computer terminal. Then, these ideas are posted anonymously and randomly on the screen of all participants. A central convener monitor keeps eye on the entire input to ensure that participants are focusing on the issue. There is no need to bring all the members together at one place, same time. However, could be located in different places and attend the meetings at different times. Thus, electronic brainstorming is a structured team decision-making process whereby several people individually generate idea to make decisions through computer software that posts each participant's ideas or opinion anonymously. Group polarization. Group discussion has the feature of persuasiveness. That is, it intends to change the opinion and attitude of a group member. When individual found it in a group discussion that others accept his opinion, then he may feel more strongly about their opinions, which will result in a more extreme view. Some studies shows that group moves towards more risky solution than risky shift. This shift is not necessarily towards the more risk. It is towards more conservative view. Generally, the average of the group member post-discussion attitude tends to be more extreme than average before discussion attitudes. The tendency of the group is termed as group polarization. Problems in decision making. In the fast developing world of today, people managements are encouraging teamwork because the nature of work requires good coordination to achieve desired outcomes. Team decision making emerged due to the discussion on several opinions is accepted as of good quality, credible and reliable solution arrived with consensus. Now, we are going to concentrate on the main problems people face when they make decision in group settings. Time constraints. Team takes longer time in decision making as compared to individuals. Because to bring together various people of various interests and opinion and then discussing the problem with them to arrive at a single benefiting decision will take enough time. The larger the group, the longer time is required to organize, coordinate and socialize. Therefore, more time is required to make a decision. The communication process among team members should be good to encourage the free flow of ideas. Another problem with team decision making is that only one person will get the chance to speak at a time. Meanwhile, other participants forget what they wanted to say. This is known as production blocking. That's why people try to make as smaller team as possible while making decisions. Evaluation apprehension. In the team members, try to build up a consensus and don't contradict others' statement because they believe that what majority is saying is right and their idea can be a topic to laugh on by other members of a team. To fulfill their need for social esteem, individuals are reluctant to mention ideas that may be silly or not directly applicable. This evaluation apprehension, that is, when members formally evaluate each other's performance throughout the year, become a problem. These thoughts often sound bizarre or lack logic when presented. As a conflict, many potentially valuable ideas are considered as ridiculous and waste of time by the team. Conformity to peer pressure. Groups has certain norms and individual members have to conform to the group norms. This control keeps the whole group organized around common goals. Team members suppress their dissenting opinion about discussing issues. In such case, the violation of majority opinion, the violation face the punishment and has to confirm that majority opinion is right and is incorrect. It is found from the survey studies that half of the managers give up in a team decision because of fear from others to conform to the team's decision. Peer group plays a significant role in decision making because usually people discuss their opinion with their peers to validate them. individual will be agreeing with that decision on which his co-worker is agreed. Groupthink. Groupthink is another problem highly encountered by the group. Groupthink is the tendency of highly cohesive group to value consensus at the price of decision quality by avoiding conflict and disagreement. It will lead to the harmonious group. It further enhances their self-identity in the group. Team harmony can help members cope with the stress of making crucial top-level decisions. According to Irving I. Janis, is a mode of thinking that people engage in which they are deeply involved in a cohesive in a group. According to Irving L. Janis, is a mode of thinking that people engage in which they are deeply involved in a cohesive in groups when the members' strivings for unanimity override their motivation to realistically appraise alternative course of action. Creativity in decision making. Creativity is a part of non-programmed decision making process. The developments throughout the world are taking place due to creative ideas. We have reached from the steam engines to metro trains because of creativity. Therefore, employees must search for new ideas and breakthrough that will keep the firm on leading edge of its markets. Model of creativity. Creativity is the process of developing original, imaginative views of situation. Creativity helps in removing stagnation and develops the organization with new and creative ideas. Creative behavior include following things: inventing a new product or service, inventing a new use for an existing product or service, solving a problem, resolving a dispute. Creativity is used to find problems, identify alternatives, and implementation of idea in a situation. Creativity is not a simple process and really difficult to understand. The following model tries to give a reasonable representation. Preparation. Creativity needs preparation for handling the problem. It is an active process where the person collects the necessary information and focus on the issue to get the solution. They have to analyze each and every component to make further developments. It involves more than just sitting around and waiting for something to happen. Incubation. It is the stage when thought of the problem occupies a person even when he do not want to think about the problem. His mind unconsciously is thinking about it. In this stage, person shifts direct attention away from the involvement in the problem. But ideas pertaining to the central issue are maturing and new ideas may be formulating in the person's mind. Incubation is the process of reflection, thought and consideration. Insight. This is the stage of enlightenment, a stage when a creative idea can come at any time in the person's mind. So creative writers keep one notebook along with them to note down their instant ideas before they disappear. Verification. The thoughts or ideas which come into the mind during insight should be useful only after verification. It requires an evaluation and experimentation for determining whether the insight is valid or not. Divergent thinking is a special feature of creativity. It involves reframing the problem in an outstanding or unique way and generating different alternatives to the issue. Unlike convergent thinking, where people have to follow common norms, expectations and beliefs to build the more cohesive team, divergent thinker can think about as many uses of a particular object as possible. Conditions for creativity. Some people found to be more creative. It is found from many researchers that creative people show more tolerance, intellectual values and more artistic, have strong need for attachment and want solutions of a particular problem in many ways. Creativity has no age bar. A child of 4 years can be creative, although the highest level of creativity is found in 30s and 40s years of age. Creative work environment. People tend to be more creative when they do not know the particular work environment much. That is, when they were not used to a particular environment and their mental setup is not found to be molded in the same way. Thus, the important thing here is that organizations should provide such an environment to his creative thinkers which provide them freedom to think about the problem in a different way. They should have sufficient autonomy for empowerment. the leaders should support and encourage risk-taking by encouraging the employees and punishing for behaving or thinking differently. Creativity training. Creativity training are provided to promote creative thinkers because not all people are born creative. Because not all people are born creative, creativity programming help participants in 3 ways. 1. It makes them to realize that their present mental setup is not enough. The stupid ideas which are coming in their minds can be very good solution to a problem. This make individual to allow divergent thinking. 2. Creativity training programs encourages participants to analyze the problem more than they are doing and to try redefining the problem more than they are doing and try to redefine it in a unique way. Creativity training is to teach people various divergent thinking strategies. Example, they give a completely new type of task of the participant to think freely about it. Apart from these training programs, companies are experimenting with the different ways to induce creativity and promote in their organizations for further development. There are some techniques that managers can use to help them make more creative decisions. For example, a national survey of highly creative top managers found that they use techniques such as guided imagery, self-hypnosis, journal keeping, and lateral styles of thinking. Not only does encouraging creativity help the organization, it may also help the employees. Summary: decision making is defined as choosing between 2 or more alternatives. However, as a process, the actual choice activity is preceded by gathering information and developing alternatives. Understanding of the traditional and modern participative techniques and the creative and group decision making process and techniques can lead to more effective decision making for the future. It is the creative problem solving management decisions which are crucial for the organizational success.